So, yeah, we start today thinking about um, that moment etched in our American history of 9/11, and it seems almost like it is overshadowed by the events of a school shooting in Colorado yesterday, and
Hmm.
then, of course, the murder of a political commentator
Yep.
yesterday as well. And it almost seems like 9/11, what's that? Because of the events of yesterday.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
It has been a
It
lot.
has been a lot, and I think it's just kind of weighing on everybody these days.
Right.
Um,
Well, and that, it's a broken record, but we shouldn't have been in the place where Minnesota lawmakers were gunned down. We shouldn't have been in a place
right.
where a Catholic grade school in church in mass get shot at. We shouldn't have been where what happened in Utah yesterday, and as well as Colorado. I mean, just
No, this is pretty. We're living in a broken world, and
broken.
and it's awful.
Yep.
Um, the,
And I'm not going to repeat the conversation I had 2 weeks ago about this, but there are sensible ideas that could come forward that doesn't deprive people of liberties and at the same time offer protections.
Yeah.
There is middle of the road stuff that can be done,
Yeah.
and there's no political will to do it. So, we grieve that somehow instead of having disagreements where we can agree to disagree, that there are folks who have now taken it to the level of, if I don't agree with you, I need to hurt you.
and that's that black and white kind of thing
Thinking.
where it has to be, or I have to destroy my enemy. Or,
Destroy my enemy or
and,
hurt
and,
others.
and live in a world where instead of Jesus teaching to love our enemies, we have to
Conquer.
hate.
And
it's
hate. And
yeah,
kill.
that's the worst results. But we
Yeah.
can do it in everyday life.
That's right.
It's just
Yep. Don't give in to that, by the way.
right.
Even in the darkest of moments, which feels like today is one of those dark moments, is don't give in to that, and don't give in to the black and white thinking on stuff, including I've seen black and white thinking of who to blame for such things. That it's no, it's all this side that's doing this. No, it's all this side doing this. And I hate to say it, everybody's got some responsibility in this.
Yeah. We all can look inside ourselves.
Yeah, that's right.
And yeah, how can we make this world a brighter place? Let's all look inward.
That's right.
And make that happen.
So this and for people of faith, this is about relationship building. This is about being willing to engage in conversation and not be at a place where you are only waiting for somebody to stop talking so you can respond. I mean, there's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that in the world. Sure.
Yeah. And so we need to do some soul searching as a nation. And I think we also need to do some soul searching as individuals. Some churches need to do some soul searching about how they align themselves, giving tacit approval to this kind of activity and violence and hate and bigotry in some circles too.
Yeah, we look at what Jesus did.
Yep.
And what did Jesus offer?
Yeah. He offered things that would get him killed today too, right?
And that's important to remember. When we start thinking, oh, well, those were those people back then who did that to Jesus.
Right.
I would have, yeah.
That wouldn't happen today, right?
Not to me.
And I wouldn't, yeah. And so the same idea of compassion and empathy and kindness to the least of these, which Jesus did, was the same stuff that got him killed then that people would be upset with today, that he is helping the wrong type of people. And the dynamics of power and authority are still using the same methods, like, for lack of a better term. And so with all of this, I just implore you all to turn and seek peaceful resolution in anything, and not just escalate to the point of having arguments, having fighting, being angry. It is okay to disagree and walk away.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to believe the same thing you're going to believe. But getting hateful and angry, and it serves no purpose, and it certainly does not serve a person of faith to either get angry at others and harbor,
Well, we know it's not. We know when we're sitting angry, just fuming inside, that's not good for us. That's
Yeah.
mind, body, spirit. Nothing about that is good for us.
is not good, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not just being angry at another or another group, but it's also then folks who align themselves with hatred and anger and then blaming other groups. Either one of those things is not productive.
Yeah, we love to blame, point the finger.
Yeah.
That's another biblical story, goes back to the beginning.
Yeah, right?
Like to point the finger
Yeah.
at somebody else.
And, Eve pointed at Adam, Adam pointed at Eve,
Yeah.
Eve points to God,
Yeah.
it's the story as old as time, but in some ways, as hard as it is, you're being invited to live above that fray. To live above the mess in Christ. Otherwise, you're just down in it with everybody else, and it's just going to weigh you down.
Right.
And remember what Mary said when she found out she was going to give birth to the Son of God, and knowing that it was fraught with danger because she was going to be pregnant with God's baby and not Joseph's baby. So there was some danger involved with that. We don't want to gloss it over. But when she accepted that and said yes, in the song that she bursts out to, she said, "My soul magnifies the Lord."
Let's live in that place. That'd be
Right?
better to live in that place.
So to magnify
Yeah.
the good,
Right.
focus in. I'm not saying you ignore it. You got to know what's out there. But if you dwell in that place, you get stuck in that
That's
place.
the distinction, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
you get stuck in that.
Yeah, we need to be aware of what's going on. But if you find yourself, awareness is just dragging your soul down.
Yep. So my question to you is this: what are you magnifying? What are you magnifying on social media? What are you magnifying in your conversations? What are you magnifying in terms of your emotions?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
I think those are some good questions for us in a time of distress and a time of trouble, national trouble, is to really think about, okay, what am I magnifying? And it's okay to acknowledge it and feel that, but then you say, maybe I need to magnify something else that might be better for me and maybe better for the community than amplifying hate, amplifying distrust, amplifying lines in the sand. I'm on this side, you're on that side. I think what we magnify is important, not just for the other, but for your own well-being too.
Yeah.
And so, I know one of the things, that I'm absolutely convinced of is that, we need to be living into when Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for those people will be called the children of God."
Yeah.
That's where I want to be.
Right.
And I don't have to have 100% agreement to be in a peaceful relationship with somebody. If you have to say, I have to have somebody completely 100% be on the same page on every issue as I am for me to be with them or whatever, you're gonna have a very small circle
It's
in
going
your
to be
life.
a lonely life.
Yeah. And yes, there are some things that that are non-negotiable. That if you think that I'm not a worthy human being or even worthy of living, that's a different conversation. But there's a whole lot of stuff that we should be able to like. Okay, we don't see eye to eye on that, but
Yeah.
we can live at least at peace, right?
Yeah.
And all or nothing thinking, in the end, will leave you with all or nothing, and most of the time it leaves you with nothing.
Yeah. No, and it's I mean, keep bringing it back to the Bible here, but I think of like King David, right? And his story of, I don't think I would have agreed, although King David was a great king in Israel.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have agreed on every position of his politically at all.
At all,
But
right.
what it made him great was that he could reflect on that. And when there was a dark time or a tragedy, he didn't just blame, he looked inward. How can I bring more light to this world?
Yeah. How can I fix what I did?
And he could reflect on that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we want to bring to everybody. That's what I want when these things happen, not to immediately jump to who can I pour all my grievances onto,
or blame or whatever.
how can I bring more light into the world?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And so that isn't a Pollyanna, if another old term from
Ooh.
old days. Man, I'm full of oldisms, aren't I?
Oldisms,
Yeah. I'm an
yeah.
old soul. How about rose-colored glasses? Maybe that's a little bit,
Glasses.
that's
a
newer
newer
than
term.
Pollyanna.
Yeah.
What's wrong with me? I don't know. Soon I'll be wearing a derby when I come to church, right?
Derby Tuesday.
That's right, Derby Tuesday. I'm not saying ignore stuff. It's good to acknowledge it. And we talked about this a while ago about stress. Name the feeling inside of you and live with that feeling for a couple of minutes as if you are observing it from the outside. Name that feeling. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling that? And live with that feeling. And then you can move towards pushing it out. So you don't want to just stuff it and ignore it. You want to acknowledge it. You want to sense it. You want to feel it. But then you want to start magnifying other things.
It is a very spiritual practice, the art of being able to let go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it takes a lot of practice too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not
There's an old parable, not in the Bible, of an old builder and carpenter. And it goes something like this, that this carpenter built houses for his entire life, and he had an apprentice, and one night he invited the apprentice home for dinner. Come on over. And he's a young guy, and he did. And he noticed that the old carpenter, when he got to his yard and there was a tree in the front yard, he symbolically kind of looked like he was hanging something on the tree before he went inside. And later on, he asked him about that, and he said, well, here's the thing. I leave all of my troubles and worries and griefs, and I hang them on the tree because I'm not bringing them home with me at the end of the day, because the people inside that house, my wife and children, have nothing to do with the grief and the troubles and the struggles even we had at work. So I leave them hanging on the tree, symbolically speaking, and they'll still be there in the morning when I leave. So I don't bring them home with me. Yeah. And I think there's some wisdom to being able to not bring that baggage with you everywhere you go, whether it's at home and you put it on somebody else, or you take it somewhere and then you overreact to somebody else because you feel powerless in this part of your life, but you take it out on somebody over here on this side of your life, and they have no idea why you just exploded at them for no reason, but it has everything to do with what's over here. And so we need to practice this, acknowledging the feelings we're having, living with them for a few moments, and then moving forward.
Yeah.
And I wrote a newsletter article on that. I might have to pull that one out and reshare it, because we're in that time again that we might need to revisit some of that stuff.
We are in that time.
Yep.
Certainly.
Yep. But here's the thing, and this ties into the song we're headed into today. There is someone who wants to be there, and move us into what I'd even call higher living than kind of the base living that we're seeing in the world right now. Calling us to higher living and wants to move us from one spot into another spot. And there was a song at 11 o'clock that really gets to the heart of God wanting to move us higher than kind of where everybody else is at.
Yeah.
So let's go back to 11 o'clock. Let's listen to that song, and then we're going to talk about it when we come back.
You are not hidden. There's never been a moment where you were forgotten. You are not hopeless. Though you have broken your innocence stolen, I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear your SOS, your SOS. And I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. There is no distance that cannot be covered over and over. You're not defenseless. I'll be your shelter, I'll be your armor. I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear your SOS, your SOS. And I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. And I will never stop marching to reach you in the middle of the hardest fight. It's true, I will rescue you. I hear the whisper underneath your breath. I hear you whisper, you have nothing left. And I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. Oh, and I will never stop marching to reach you in the middle of the hardest fight. It's through, I will rescue you. Oh, I will rescue you. Amen.
Just a beautiful,
It is.
and the sentiment is true and it's real. We sometimes miss that rescue because
Yeah.
of where our hearts are at. You know, it goes back
God
to
is always there, right?
Right,
But
you know.
it's we open our eyes, open the eyes of our hearts. It's just we can't.
and it's that Richard Rohr, great spiritual guru, father, and I love that line, and I've shared it with you before, but it's worth repeating. the issue is not the presence of God. The issue is our awareness of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's very true.
And that's the story
yeah,
throughout the scriptures that, who's going to notice this baby in a manger, and who's going to
right.
notice this Jesus, and who's going to choose hate.
Yeah, exactly. And hate closes that connection down
Mm-hmm.
quickly. Now here, and I pulled this up because it occurred to me that this whole conversation about the awareness of God's care is really on our end.
Okay.
And not God's presence, because we stated that God's present, right? And I was thinking about a story of all the way back at the time of the kings, and I didn't actually put up my notes. but
Okay.
it was hitting me as we were listening to this song, and especially so with about the awareness of the presence of God. And this is a time when the southern kingdom called Judah was at war with the northern kingdom, Israel. So it's like a
Okay.
civil war, north versus south. Sound familiar? And a great amount of conflict. But there's this moment that fear was getting the best of some folks, but somebody who had a deep awareness of the presence of God didn't give in to that fear, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll remember this. When the servant of the man of God got up, so in other words, there's a prophet, Elisha, and Elisha's helper, when the servant of the man of God got up, he went out early the next morning. An army with horses and chariots had surrounded the city. "Oh no, my lord, what shall we do?" the servant asked. So here's Elisha. "Do not be afraid. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And at this point, this servant's probably looking around like,
Yeah, we're surrounded.
We're
yeah,
surrounded.
surrounded by other enemies. Yeah.
like, "Elisha, what are you smoking?" Right? Like, we are surrounded. And Elisha prayed, "Open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see." Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and he saw hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. I love that story. It's the moment where you're like, there's more than meets the eye.
Yes.
And yes, some people are more attuned to it than others. I can't explain it. Just some folks are more spiritually attuned. It's not a judgment, it's just the truth. And Elisha was one of those people, like his predecessor, Elijah. They were just tuned in a way that they could sense these things. And, even Elisha's servant or helper was like, "Our goose is cooked," right? And Elisha's like, just open his eyes. and there the presence of the heavenly host, angels, like surrounding that army. Changes the equation.
Yes. And to be able to think that in our own lives too,
Yeah.
that whatever we are facing, whatever we're going through, it might not always be our will, but God is there for us even when we can't see it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And this song's from 2018, so it's a number of years old, and it envelops the aspect of God's willingness to go to great lengths to rescue us even when no one can hear. And so that is that theme, and I know it is true. And I jumped back into a couple of stories from the Exodus. So prior to 2 Kings and Elisha was the time of Moses, the time that Israel was in slavery. And early on in that story, Moses had run away because he had committed premeditated murder. He was living in Midian, the middle of nowhere, most likely western Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
I mean, you talk about nowhere land. And he was a shepherd for 40 years, married into a family, Jethro's family.
Hobab's.
Thank you. Otherwise, AKA Hobab.
AKA.
Yes.
Not this. Yes. Same man.
Yeah, right. And then God shows up one day at that burning bush, and he says, "Moses, I'm calling you back into ministry." And listen to this, though. This is a part of that story. Exodus 3, verse 7. The Lord said, "I've indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt, and I've heard them cry out because of their slave drivers, and I'm concerned about their suffering. Here's the line, though. Here's the line. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians, and bring them out of that into a land, a good and spacious land, a land flowing of milk and honey. But it's easy to miss that. God's like, I'm coming down.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sending you, Moses, but I'm walking with you.
And it was a journey for Moses to get there.
To get
You
there.
know, he could hear what God was saying, but it's very much that willing spirit. I'm not going to let those words sink in. Not about me. I'll let you go do that, God.
Yeah,
whatever
right.
you want to do.
Whatever you want to do, right.
But
yeah.
I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But God says, I'm coming down. And where do we see that embodied, you know, most often, at least from the Christian point of view, is, you know, Jesus came to be not only with us, but one of us. You know, the Word became flesh, you know, Emmanuel, God with us. And so you say, God came to us to rescue us. You see that in Exodus, but you also see it embodied in God incarnate, you know, the Son coming and being with us, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just a throwaway line, but we see that lived out in the life and death and resurrection of Jesus.
Yes.
Now, let's fast forward in that story to where God has rescued the Israelites, but they're not feeling rescued. And this is a story we've dealt with before, and I've revisited it because I really like the punchline in this story.
Well, and it goes to that time period of, like you say, they have been rescued, but it takes, before we can truly be rescued, we have to open our own hearts.
Right,
to get there.
right. And so
Yeah.
they have left the cities. The last plague has happened. Pharaoh has said, go, get out of here. I want nothing to do with you. I want nothing to do with your God who has brought 10 different plagues. And they're leaving. They're out in, you know, the desert of Egypt. And Pharaoh changes his mind.
So here he comes back.
Here he comes back with his army. So here we go.
So Pharaoh approached the Israelites. And so the people looked up, God's people looked up. And there were the Egyptians marching after them. And they were terrified. They cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? A little bit of blame in there.
Right.
I can feel it a little bit in there.
There is some blame, and
Yes.
you know, this is all your fault.
Yes.
And yeah.
Didn't we say to you in Egypt, leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert.
So the people of Israel see no way forward.
Yeah.
Because think about this. You have the Red Sea in front of you. You have the Egyptian army behind you. You're between a rock and a hard place.
That's it.
And instead of going, wait a minute, we've had a God who has brought 10 different plagues, miracles for them to see the power of God. Instead of going, okay, God, what do we do now?
God cares about me.
Got you right. Yeah. They immediately panic. So it's what are they magnifying, right?
Yep.
And I'm not blaming them because we.
It's
do
all
the
they can
same
see,
things.
and like you say, it's been
human
magnified.
nature, right? So this is what happens.
Yeah. Then the Lord said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground.
So Moses is like, oh man, this is terrible. He's like, okay, God, what are we gonna do here? After he hears the complaints, and God's like, don't stop. Like, it's time to move.
Yeah.
It's time to do something. He's like, move on. You know, stretch your arm. I'm going to make a way. And God makes a way. And I think there's a good lesson in there about, A, complaining.
Yep.
And magnifying the wrong things. And then secondly, God just is like, move on, just take a step. The miracle hasn't happened yet, right? Like the Red Sea hasn't parted. But what does God say? Take a step. See what I'll do.
Take a step.
Take a step. And sometimes we just need to take a step away from the hot mess that we're viewing
Yeah.
and take a step forward and see what God's going to do.
Yeah, it's a powerful story,
It
isn't
is.
it?
It
Gosh,
is.
It feels like That was ages ago when we sat in this room. We did Bible study on that, and
It was
you and I
pandemic
and
when we
a
were
camera
in-
person. Yeah.
We were in pandemic back when we were
Yeah.
studying Exodus on Wednesdays for Bible,
Yeah.
right? But this story has stuck with me of God
Oh,
saying,
certainly, yeah,
sometimes
it's
you just
a-
got to take a leap of faith, a step of faith, and see what I'll do, and move away from the negativity.
Yep.
And that's what
Yep.
they do, and God provides a way. Same is true for us. Maybe God's not going to part Lake Mead for us, but certainly we can take a step and see the new
Move forward.
move us forward in life, right?
Yep.
And finally today in Acts, there is this beautiful line, and it is God reflecting on Paul reflecting on what God has done for him.
Yep.
And he's recounting a story here. And he recounts his conversion story, because that's found in Acts 9. But we're near the end of the book, and he's kind of reliving this. And he says that God said to him, I will rescue you from your own people and from the Gentiles. And I'm sending you to them, the Gentiles, to open their eyes and turn them from darkness to light, and from the power of Satan to the power of God, so that they may receive the forgiveness of sins and a place among those who are sanctified, that is made holy by faith in me. And I love this thought that when God came to rescue Paul, and this is not here, but back in Acts 9, he was rescuing even an enemy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
God's love is pretty big.
That is so important to remember, that God says, hey, I've got to rescue everybody. It's not about, hey, I have to make sure that
Checking all the boxes or something,
yeah,
right?
just-
God said, you know what? I see value in Saul as a child of God. He rescued him. And then he says, like, I'm going to also save you from your own people who are going to reject you because you're following Jesus. But I'm also going to save you from folks who believe in other gods, like the Roman pantheon of gods. He's like, I'm going to save you from them too.
I would say save him from himself. Like the way he was living was filled with that blame and anger, and it
So
had to
much
be tearing
anger.
his soul apart. Yeah.
So that rescue comes from from various things, and I think very importantly from himself. You're absolutely right about that. Is that he was such a dark, angry, vengeful human being that God finally opened him up to see that he wasn't channeling some sort of holiness. He was just channeling his own anger.
Yeah.
And not the love of God.
Yep.
And so he's like, but I'm going to rescue you so that you can share what you've received, love and forgiveness with others. And maybe that's some of the reason God has put us here at this time in 2025 as the church family, so that we can be people who bring love and light to others.
Takes an open heart.
That's right.
Yep.
So don't close it down, right? Don't close it down. And we hope you join us this weekend for worship, whether that's Saturday night at 5 o'clock Pacific time or Sunday morning, 8, 9:30 to 11. We're going to look at what does it mean to say, give us this day our daily bread.
Ooh. There's a lot packed into these verses, right? Each
Way
one of
more
them
than
have-
you may think.
Yes.
And it's more than just enough to eat for the day. That's a part of it, but it's way more than that.
Yep.
So we hope you can join us for that so you can see the blessings in your life. But until then, you take care. God bless you. We love you. And Philip, will you play us out?